Hello everyone and welcome back to the Unexplored Mojave. Today we're going to be looking at Camp McCarran, which is the primary military base for the NCR, the New California Republic. Now, Camp McCarran is the location of McCarran Airport in the pre-war era. And like many other locations in Fallout New Vegas, Camp McCarran or McCarran Airport is based on the real-life McCarran Airport. However, today the name was changed to Harry Reid International Airport. So, some quick history about the airport, both in real life and in Fallout. The original name for the airport was Alamo Field, and it just simply served as a runway for flight instructors. It was built by George Crockett, who was a descendant of Davy Crockett, who fought at the Battle of the Alamo, which is why he named it Alamo Field. And it was just a very basic field with 3 gravel runways, and it shared the location with the Army Air Forces, the predecessor to the U.S. Air Force, during World War II, following the attack on Pearl Harbor. But after World War II, the military base was actually closed, and it was just, again, a flight instructor school. However, Las Vegas wanted to open up an airport to bring in more tourism, and the U.S. Senator Pat McCarran was able to secure taxpayer funds in order to build the airport, which is why he got his namesake on the airport. So let's jump into Camp McCarran. So obviously Camp McCarran is at the center of New Vegas, or Las Vegas. It sits right here on the New Vegas Strip, right outside the walls of the New Vegas city, and there's the famous Las Vegas sign, or now New Vegas sign, where the beginning of the game starts, right, with the Rangers shooting the Fiends. Now, along the outer parts of the camp, we can see a wall. We can see 2 walls, a brick wall and eventually a concrete wall. It's hard to tell when this concrete wall was built, and there's a lot of graffiti on it from the Fiends, but it appears that this wall was either built by the U.S. military during the Great War with China, or it was built by the NCR themselves. However, based on the state of the wall, it would be safe to assume it was probably pre-war, but it could be NCR. Unfortunately, we have no confirmation of this in-game. But, as we can see here, the runway actually sits outside of the wall, so the function of an airport would be impossible at this point, because planes would not be able to get to the terminal. Now, obviously in the world of Fallout, the timeline splits following World War II, so perhaps the US military had a lot more control over McCarran Airport. However, you could also argue that the NCR built the wall. It's made out of cement, and the NCR does produce cement at Boulder City. And we can see NCR troops on the wall, and also we can see the monorail, which leads straight from the airport into New Vegas, which is part of the reason the NCR love this location. On the northern part of the city, we can find part of the wall, which is in serious disrepair. Inside Camp McCarran, there are a lot of tents, and there's a lot of stuff that you could easily miss here. There's a lot of side quests and unmarked quests given to you by some of the soldiers, and there's also a lot of ammunition boxes and even a shooting range that I've never seen in use, actually. It's just here for decoration and to give the feeling that this is an actual military base. We can find several tents with just soldiers' goods and beds on the ground. Not the best living conditions, but, it's definitely safe. We can also find the mess hall, along with a tent featuring medical equipment, so obviously for injured soldiers coming back from war. Now, in front of the airport, we can find the old drop-off and pickup area, where obviously passengers would have been dropped off before they're sent away. Camp McCarran has a lot of interesting assets that were built specifically for this location, but I feel like this location is not featured so much, and that a lot of it was probably cut from the final game, which is quite unfortunate. In the bottom area, we can find stacks of TVs, which would have probably displayed flight information in the pre-war era, and then Veronica wanted to talk to me. We can also see a fighter jet hanging in the front lobby, along with several slot machines that are not working. We can also see advertisements for various stage acts in Las Vegas, along with more TVs. Now, the main area I wanted to explore was the Concourse, because this is an area you never have to visit. We can actually find some unmarked quests here, along with another mess hall for the NCR soldiers. When I talked to the manager of the mess hall, I got some very unique dialogue. So, let's listen in.
Listen, asshole, I know you're not really an NCR health inspector, so you can cut the restaurant critique routine. And I want my 50 caps back, because I looked it up and there ain't no disease called colorectal implosion syndrome. So I paid you to look the other way for nothing. Wait, you're not... Oh, wow, I'm sorry. You look just like... Never mind, sorry. So what can I serve you up? That's nothing. You just look like the health inspector who stopped through for the yearly inspection a couple of weeks back. I was hoping I wouldn't have to wait another 11 months to see his crooked ass to get my caps back. Ah, well. Anything I can get you?
And then if you've been to Vault 22, we can give him a pod sample to enhance his food.
No shit. The stuff actually does all that, huh? I'll have to start testing this out immediately. This will really help keep the guys focused.
Now, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Perhaps I just turned all of the NCR troops here into spores. But, who knows? If we can go further down the concourse where we can find where the planes used to be, along with some NCR propaganda. And here we can find the supply shack, which I had no clue existed before this video. And in here we can actually find a vendor, and he will sell you supplies, even though he wasn't happy with my reputation. And as we can see here, he actually has some decent ammunition. While not a lot of variety, he had a ton of .308 round, which was really good for me. So definitely worth a visit if you're using .308 rounds. And then outside on the tarmac, there are several planes, which I assume are passenger planes. However, I guess they could also be bombers. They have a real 1950s passenger plane aesthetic to them, though, which does match the Fallout aesthetic. I also found it really interesting how the wings fold up. I've never seen an airplane like that. Unfortunately, we can't get into the back of these trucks, so there's no loot, there's an invisible barrier. Also, if you try to get on top of the airport, which it looks like you might be able to, there's an invisible barrier. Inside the control tower, this is prominent during the quest, I put a spell on you. Now, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot in there, but there is the dead body of Curtis if you've completed the quest for the NCR. Back outside, we can find various guard towers along with a shooting range, and interestingly, in the guard tower, there's ammunition boxes, and we can take the ammunition, and it's not considered stealing. There's also a series of fighter jets on the outside part over here. Now, I found it interesting the NCR doesn't try to repurpose those jets or these planes. It seems to me they would be very useful, but it might be difficult to get something that's like 200 years running again. And then over here we can find a sort of obstacle course, and we can actually run the entire course. And I found this very interesting because when I was researching it, I found out there were 2 NCR troops and a drill sergeant that would run the course when the game was first released. But these NPCs were later removed in an update. So if you played the original version of the game, there should be NCR troops here. But if you have an update, like I do, there are no troops. So very interesting that they pulled that from the final game. Perhaps it was just too glitchy, who knows. And I also wanted to mention, earlier I mentioned that today this airport is called Harry Reid International Airport, changed from McCarran International Airport. I wanted to go over why that is. So the original namesake, Pat McCarran, was a US Senator during World War II, and he held some anti-Semitic, racist views, and he was a huge opponent of Franklin Delano Roosevelt in his approach to the war. Of course, today, FDR is viewed as, pretty good president, especially during the war. So Pat McCarran has really fallen out of favor, and a later senator, Harry Reid, who was the Senate Majority Leader for many years, replaced his name when he was diagnosed with cancer. So in our world, the name was changed, but obviously in the world of Fallout, things are different. And Fallout New Vegas was released before the name was changed to Harry Reid. Also, another fun fact is Harry Reid is from the small town of Searchlight, Nevada. And this rather unknown town is actually a very major location in Fallout New Vegas. Camp Searchlight, which is held by the NCR, or I should say, was held by the NCR. Alright guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any recommendations for the next video, please post them in the comment section below. And, as always, until next time.